Economics and employment term. Subject: economics. Topic: unemployment. Unemployment. Unemployment is defined as a situation where members of the labour force have no jobs or work to do at the prevailing wage rate. Unemployment is a condition where an individual/member of the labour force fails to get work at the ongoing wage rate. Unemployment may also refer to a situation where members of the labour force who are willing and able to work have no jobs or what to do at the prevailing wage rate. Employment refers to a situation where members of the labour force have got jobs or work to do. Keynes identified two forms of unemployment. A. Voluntary unemployment. Roman 2. Involuntary unemployment. Voluntary unemployment. This is a situation where individuals who are able to work are not willing to work at a prevailing wage rate despite existence of jobs or employment opportunities. In other words, voluntary unemployment is by choice. In this case, if a person can find work to do, but for some reason is not willing to take it on at a given wage rate. Causes of voluntary unemployment: low wages and remunerations and other benefits in the available jobs. Sometimes labourers refuse to work because the payments given is so low compared to the efforts put in. Economics and employment tool. Or, this makes people reluctant to take on some jobs since they want to spend most of their time in leisure activities. Expectations of better jobs in future. As one expects to get a better job, he or she may ignore the job available, especially if the job does not suit the person's taste. High risks involved in the available jobs. Some people refuse to work for fear of losing their lives in such a job. Wealthy/rich family background/good economic background. Some labourers refuse to work because they have family resources/sources of income on which to survive. The unemployed being too qualified for the available job. Sometimes labourers have got more skills than what the job available requires, implying that if they accept such a job, they would be underutilising their skills and abilities. B. The job available is below the qualifications of the job seeker. Social restrictions. The available job may be socially unacceptable, e.g., according to religious or cultural norms. B. Here we look at how society looks at the job, e.g., in some societies some jobs are looked at as bad, e.g., in a Muslim society, a Muslim cannot work in a pork joint because Muslims look at such as being socially unacceptable. Social ties. The available job may require the individual to leave the family or friends which the individual may not be willing to accept. Unfavourable geographical location of jobs. The job may be in a remote or distant area which discourages a person from taking on such a job. Or, some jobs exist in areas that are not easily accessible by people, hence discouraging people from taking on jobs from such areas. The preference to live on others' incomes or to live or survive on unemployment benefits. This implies that the person can even survive without taking on the available job because some people can provide income to use in their day-to-day life. The desire of the unemployed to live on past savings. This implies that the unemployed can use economics and employment home. Preference for leisure. Some people prefer to relax and have leisure instead of working and thus become reluctant to take on the available job. Low status esteem attached to the available job or the job being socially unacceptable, e.g., washing toilets in an organisation discourage people from taking on such jobs. Involuntary unemployment. This is a situation in which people who are willing and able to work at the ongoing wage rate are unable to find jobs. Or, this is one in which labour is willing to work but is unable to find work at the ongoing wage rate. B. In economics, when we talk of the unemployment problem, we are concerned with involuntary unemployment, and therefore when asked to give the causes of unemployment, we consider those causes of involuntary unemployment, and in most cases when defining unemployment we use the definition of involuntary unemployment. Causes of involuntary unemployment. B. The causes of involuntary unemployment are the general causes of unemployment in the country and LDCs in general. Rapid population growth rate as compared to the slow growth of employment opportunities. Inappropriate education system. Discrimination in the labour market. Political instability. Economics and employment tone. Seasonal changes, especially in the agricultural sector. Changing of jobs, hence causing frictional unemployment. International Monetary Fund conditionality, which require reduction in the number of people employed in a certain firm retrenchment. As a result, some people are laid off from work and thus become unemployed. Questions. I. Distinguish between voluntary and involuntary unemployment. Roman 2. State 2 causes of voluntary unemployment in an economy. Roman 3. Mention 4 reasons for the existence of involuntary unemployment in an economy. Measurement of the rate of unemployment. The rate of unemployment in an economy can be measured by a percentage or ratio of the number of unemployed individuals to the number of people in the working age group or labour force. Rate of unemployment equals number of unemployed individuals. Number of people in the working age group. Types and causes of unemployment. 1. Open urban unemployment. This is where members of the labor force who are able and willing to work have no jobs or work to do in the urban areas. Or, it refers to the type of unemployment where members of the labor force who are able and willing to work have no jobs and work to do in the urban areas. This type of unemployment occurs when a proportion of the labor force living in urban area fails to get jobs at the prevailing wage rate. Economics and employment tone. Inadequate information regarding the available jobs on the market. Limited capital for starting small businesses. Solutions. Population growth control measures, e.g. family planning usage should be undertaken. Undertake education reform, i.e. to change the education system to practical or vocational education that trains more job creators than seek. Undertake rural development programs, e.g. development of infrastructure in rural areas to control rural-urban migration. Encouraging use of appropriate technology or labor-intensive technology other than capital-intensive technology. Provision of credit or loans to the unemployed individuals to enable them to start their own project. 2. Seasonal unemployment. This refers to the type of unemployment brought about by climatic changes or changes in seasons. It is the type of unemployment which occurs in particular periods or seasons of the year due to changes in the agricultural sector due to certain unfavorable conditions, e.g. in the agricultural sector people get employed in particular seasons when they are planting, weeding and harvesting, but in the other season they remain unemployed as they wait for rain to start cultivating. Economics and employment tone. Agricultural modernization to reduce dependence on nature. Provision of affordable loans or capital to affected individuals to enable them invest in alternative areas. Equipping labor with multiple skills. Encouraging irrigation in the dry seasons. Disguised unemployment. This refers to a type of unemployment where members of the labor force are visibly seen to be employed but when the marginal product of labor is zero or negative. This implies that there are more laborers than necessary such that some of them can be laid off without leading to a reduction in the output produced. Causes. High population growth rate. This results into excess workers in certain situations on which causes the marginal product of labor to be zero or negative. Nepotism in some sectors, i.e. when people employ very many relatives or tribesmates. This results into over-involvement and recruitment. Limited capital. The desire by employers to retain labor for future use. Inadequate information regarding the availability of other jobs. Economics and employment tone. Provision of credit or loans to the affected individuals. And B. Disguised unemployment occurs when there are more laborers than necessary in doing a particular job. Q&A distinguish between disguised unemployment and frictional unemployment. Roman 2 mention two causes of disguised unemployment. By distinguish between seasonal and casual unemployment, Roman 2 give any two remedies to seasonal unemployment in our country. 4. Frictional unemployment. This refers to a form of unemployment which occurs when labor is shifting from one job to another. Or, it is the unemployment which occurs when a laborer loses one job and the time when he secures another job. It is a short-term or temporary form of unemployment. Causes. Inadequate information regarding the availability of other jobs. Immobility of labor, e.g. due to high levels of specialization in the job. Complicated procedures involved in getting another job. Solutions. Increase advertisement of the available jobs. Encouraging geographical mobility of labor, e.g. through development of transport and communication system. Equipping labor with multiple or a variety of skills. Economics and employment tone. 5. Structural unemployment. This is the type of unemployment that arises due to changes in patterns of demand and supply in an economy. Or, if there is a fall in demand for a product in an industry due to changes in tastes and preferences, labor that was originally employed become jobless. Causes. 1. Changes in taste and preferences which lead to changes in demand for given products. 2. Exhaustion of given resource or input, e.g. raw materials used in production. 3. Technological advancements in an industry. 4. Structural advancement programs of the IMF which advocate for reducing the size of the labor force employed by the government. 5. The mobility of labor. 6. Occurrence of an economic depression in an economy which leads to a fall in aggregate demand. Solutions. Encouraging the use of appropriate technology. Expansion of market for products of the affected industry, e.g. through economic integration. Importation of resources or raw materials that are exhausted. Ensuring political instability. Retraining of affected workers. Equipping labor with multiple skills. Provision of credit or loans to the affected individuals. Economics and employment tone. For casual unemployment, people get employed when the job or work is available, but when the work is over, they become casually unemployed. Causes I. Expiry of contracts, Roman 2. Limited skills, Roman 3. Limited capital, Roman 4. Limited information regarding availability of other jobs. Solutions I. Provision of capital or credit to the affected individuals, Roman 2. Retaining the affected individuals. Roman 3. Equipping labor with multiple skills during training. Roman 4. Advertisement of the available jobs. 7. Technological unemployment. This refers to unemployment that results from the use of capital-intensive methods of production where labor is replaced by machines in doing work. Or, this is the type of unemployment that occurs due to use of modern methods of production where employers use more machines and labor. Causes: inadequate capital, limited skills, inadequate information regarding availability of other jobs. Economics unemployment or provision of capital or loans to the affected individuals, diversify labor skills or retraining labor. 8. Residual unemployment. This is unemployment that comes as a result of physical and mental disabilities. Residual unemployment occurs among people who can't be hired because of their physical or mental disabilities. This category of people includes the deaf, blind and physically impaired such that they are unfit for certain jobs. Causes: physical and mental disability. Solution: treatment of the affected individuals. Provision of appropriate work for the affected individuals, e.g. shoe shining, shoe repairing for the lame individuals. 9. Cyclical Keynesian unemployment. This is the type of unemployment brought about by a deficiency or a fall in aggregate demand for goods and services, especially in times of an economic depression. Causes: fall in aggregate demand for goods and services. Solution: use of an expansionary monetary policy. Increase in government expenditure. Reduction in taxes, direct taxes. Subsidization of consumers. Economics unemployment tone. QNS. What is frictional unemployment? Mention 3 causes of frictional unemployment. Distinguish between cyclic and casual unemployment. The Keynesian theory of unemployment. It states that due to deficiency in aggregate demand, firms reduce their output, income levels fall, investment is discouraged and thus less labor and capital are employed. The major solution of unemployment according to Keynesian is increasing aggregate demand for goods and services. According to Keynes, aggregate demand can be increased through using the following: reduction in taxes, increasing government expenditure, use of an expansion monetary policy, subsidization of consumers, encouragement of private investment by use of incentives, e.g. tax holidays. NB. The above measures increase aggregate demand and as a result firms increase output, incomes increase, investment also increase, which results into employment of more labor and capital. Economics and employment tone. DG. Deficiency in aggregate demand. Equilibrium income. Full employment of income. Due to deficiency in aggregate demand, the level of unemployment that results is represented by ENIF. Assumptions of Keynesian theory. Existence of an industrialized economy. He assumed conditions of full employment of resources. He assumed existence of a big and strong private sector. He assumed existence of a closed economy. He assumed existence of a well-developed and functioning product, factor and money market. He assumed that there is a deficiency in aggregate demand during an economic depression. MB. A money market is one where short-term securities are bought and sold. Capital market is one where long-term securities are bought and sold traded. Applicability or relevancy of the Keynesian theory of unemployment to developing countries or Uganda. To a larger extent, the Keynesian theory is irrelevant to LDCs, e.g. Uganda because of the following limitations. 1. The theory is mainly concerned with demand deficiency and employment, yet unemployment in low-developed countries basically rises from the supply side. Economics and employment tone. NB. The supply side involves shortage of raw materials and other cooperant factors. Some units of labor can be laid off because of scarcity of such resources, which creates unemployment, but Keynesian ignored this possibility. 2. The theory mainly affects highly industrialized economies, yet RDCs are basically agro-based economies. 3. The theory applies under conditions of full employment of resources, which conditions are not found in RDCs where most of the resources happen to be underutilized. 4. As the solution of unemployment, Keynesian suggested measures that increase DDEG, adopting an expansionary monetary policy, but these measures tend to be inflationary in LDCs. 5. The theory is based on assumption of highly monetized economy, yet LDC economies are basically subsistence economies. 6. The theory applies in an economy where products, factor and money markets are highly developed and functional, but in most LDCs these markets are poorly developed and are not as functional as they are in NDCs. 7. The theory emphasizes the investment multiplier as the major contributor of unemployment, but in LDCs, it is the export multiplier which contributes to unemployment. 8. Firms in most LDCs don't respond quickly and efficiently to changes in demand because of the structural difficulties. Therefore, if aggregate demand is increased, the firms may not immediately employ more labor, hence making the theory relevant. Economics and employment tone. Note, this implies that during an economic depression, industries reduce levels of output and their incomes fall through the multiplier process. Investment also declines and thus less labor is employed in industries. Therefore, the theory becomes applicable. 2. At times, unemployment in LDCs results due to fall in aggregate demand both domestic and abroad, hence the theory applies to LDCs or Uganda. 3. The investment climate affects employment levels as suggested by Keynes, and therefore promotion of investment in LDCs will expand employment as stated by Keynes. Or, the investment climate affects employment levels and therefore promotion of investment in LDCs can greatly increase employment. 4. In the long run, as supply for the co-operant factors for labor increase, the theory becomes relevant. This increases the supply of co-operant factors. As investment increases, more units of labor become employed, and this makes the Keynesian theory applicable in LDCs. 5. The use of expansionary monetary policies to increase purchasing powers in most LDCs has tended to increase aggregate demand, which also increases employment levels and thus the applicability of the theory in LDCs. And B. This is because when purchasing power is increased, producers increase output and employ more labor in their firms. 6. Measures to stabilize export earnings through the International Monetary Fund arrangement. 2. Economics and employment on. 2. The inappropriate/theoretical education system. This education system creates more of job seekers than job creators. This therefore results into a big number of people looking for jobs compared to the jobs created. 3. Use of capital-intensive methods of production/technological development. The mechanization in agriculture and in other fields like use of computers, automation in industries, etc. This leads to increased use of machines than labor, thereby substituting labor with machines, which consequently leads to unemployment in LDCs. 4. The poor political atmosphere. This disrupts economic activities and investment in general, hence leading to fall in a number of people employed for fear of losing property and lives. Or, political instability discourages potential investors because of the fear to lose both property and their lives. This therefore reduces the number of economic activities and hence a reduction in the number of jobs created. 5. Unfavorable change in climate or seasons. Some people become unemployed in particular season, e.g., in the agricultural sector, farmers that depend on nature become unemployed in the dry season as they wait for the rains to start cultivation. Or, during certain seasons of the year, there are less activities, e.g., in the driest season, some farmers become unemployed as they wait for the rains to start planting. Economics and employment on. Religion, sex, etc., which the employer wants there for those people who are discriminated against because of not meeting certain specifications set by the employers become unemployed. 8. Ignorance of labourers as regards the existence of employment opportunities. This results into unemployment simply because individuals or some people are not aware that there are jobs available and therefore they fail to apply for them. 9. Inadequate capital. This leads to less/low investment, thereby leading to a low rate of economic activity, and as a result less employment opportunities are created in the country. 10. Limited market for goods and services. This also discourages investors for fear of making losses, which leads to low investment levels in the country and hence limited number of employment opportunities. 11. Physical and mental incapacitations. This leads to unemployment of the affected individuals as jobs cannot be offered to them because of their physical and mental disabilities. Or, some individuals are not given jobs by some employers because of their physical and mental disabilities. Such individuals therefore do not get absorbed into active employment, hence worsening the unemployment problem in LDCs. 12. The poor land tenure system. This leads to limited access to land by some individuals for carrying out investment or for carrying out economic activities, hence leading to unemployment on their side. Economics and employment on. Measures for reducing/controlling unemployment. 1. Undertake education reforms. This should be done through encouraging practical and vocational education so as to produce more of job creators that can start up investment to employ themselves and hence control unemployment. 2. Use population growth control measures, e.g., family planning methods. This should be done to reduce the birth rate and eventually reduce the rate at which the country's labour force increases in comparison to the available employment opportunities. 3. Advertise the available jobs, e.g., through media. This should be done to ensure that the unemployed are made aware of the available jobs such that they can take them on. 4. Develop infrastructure, especially the transport and communication system, power and energy, etc. This should be done to facilitate the movement of resources, including labour, which results into more investments and hence more employment of labour. 5. Privatize public enterprises. This should be done in order to increase efficiency in these enterprises, which results into more profit and the expansion of these enterprises and hence employing more individuals. 6. Establish special programs for the people with disabilities or special needs, e.g., by encouraging projects under which they can be employed. 7. The economy should be liberalized this should be done through removal of unnecessary economics and employment on. and income of the farmers. As a result, more investments in the agricultural sector are undertaken and hence more people are employed in the sector, hence reducing unemployment. 10. Expand or widen the market, e.g. through joining economic integration. This should be done to encourage the existing firms produce more output and thus employ more people. In addition, as the market grows bigger, more and more investors are attracted, which increases economic activities in the country, thereby leading to creation of more and more jobs. 11. Extend affordable loans or credit to investors. This should be done to enable these individuals to set up businesses of their own where they can be employed. Such projects can also provide jobs to other people who would have remained unemployed, hence reducing unemployment in the country. Underemployment. This refers to a situation where the labour force is not fully utilised and exploited, or it implies that the labourer's capacity to do work is not fully utilised. Forms and examples of underemployment: people working for fewer hours than they should, people working in jobs where the academic requirements are below their qualifications. Economics and employment on reasons why it is difficult to attain full employment in an economy. 1. Technological advancement. This results into capital-intensive methods of production, leading to replacement of human labour with machines, thus making it hard for all people to find jobs. 2. High population growth rate. 3. Limited foreign and domestic market. 4. Immorality of some factors of production. 5. Poor manpower planning. This creates excess labour supply in certain occupations and some people are not taken up for employment, hence making it difficult to attain full employment. 6. Changes in seasons or heavy dependence on nature due to unfavourable changes in seasons. Productive activities come to a standstill, like in a dry season, people in the agricultural sector become jobless as they wait for farmers to start cultivating and planting. 7. Rural labour migration. This results from the push factors in rural areas as well as the pull factors in urban areas that lead to an influx of people in urban areas, which result into excess supply of labour compared to the available jobs in urban areas, hence unemployment. 8. Inappropriate education system. This creates more of job seekers than job creators and thus unemployment. 9. Political instabilities in some areas. This discourages investment as the investors fear to lose both their lives and property, hence causing a decline in investment, leading to loss of jobs to individuals who were originally employed. Economics and employment on 12. Trade unions activities, which restricts the entry of new people into occupation or industry so as to maintain high wages of the already employed people. They explain measures that have been taken to reduce unemployment in Uganda. Modernized agriculture. Provided tax incentives to investors. Improve the political climate or atmosphere. Expanded or widened the market. Extended affordable loans or credit to investors, etc. Effects of unemployment / costs / disadvantages. 1. Unemployment results into a decline in the level of skills acquired. This is because the unemployed people do not get the opportunity to put into practice the skills or the knowledge they acquired through training. 2. It leads to low aggregate demand for goods and services. This is because the unemployed cannot afford to purchase goods and services since they have no money. 3. It leads to an increase in the dependence burden. The unemployed individuals have to depend on their employed relatives, friends, and the government for services like education, medical care, housing, etc. This heavy dependence burden reduces the level of savings for the unemployed and it also reduces their ability to invest. 4. It leads to low government revenue from taxation. This is because the unemployed individuals cannot pay the taxes imposed on them by the government since they do not earn income. 5. Unemployment leads to brain drain. Many of the unemployed individuals who are highly educated and skilled decide to go and look for jobs from other countries, which leads to loss of a country's skilled manpower. Economics and employment on 6. It leads to underutilization of the country's resources, and this is due to low or no incomes on the side of the unemployed. Therefore, savings for investment are usually less, and this is associated with resource wastage. 7. It results into low production / low GDP and a low rate of economic growth. This is because the unemployed individuals do not contribute towards production of goods and services in the country. 8. Leads to rural-urban migration and the associated evils. The unemployed people usually move from rural areas to urban areas hoping to get jobs and other means of survival. This increases evils like prostitution in the country. 9. It causes misery and low welfare of the people in the country, the unemployed. This is due to low or no incomes on the side of the unemployed persons, and therefore they find it difficult to buy the basic necessities of life, which leads to a fall in their welfare. 10. Results into social unrest, e.g., in form of instabilities in families. This is due to the misunderstandings that result from lack of provision of necessities for the people in the family. 11. Leads to an increase in wealth inequalities, i.e., the unemployed become poorer because they are not earning incomes and therefore they are unable to acquire wealth, while the employed people earn income and are able to save for investment, hence leading to income inequality. 12. Increases government expenditure, e.g., on provision of social services like education, medical services, etc., for the unemployed who cannot pay for them in the market. 13. It increases social evil/crime rate and immorality in the country, e.g. prostitution, theft, corruption. Economics and employment.